Welcome to episode 192 of Drew's Sports Crew here on this Wednesday evening. Bringing you an episode here during a time I did not think I was going to be recording. Look, the Bucks being postponed tonight really, obviously we hope the city of New Orleans, we wish them the best, everything. With the snow and the weather situation that's hit them here or hit that city and ended up postponing tonight's game. But point being, we thought we'd have Bucks basketball right now and be watching, film for the next episode, if you will. But nope, and works out as in terms of just being a time to record. Wrapped up an episode of Journey to Million just before, and again, you can catch that. That'll be out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatnot after. And look, we'll get into the news here. There's kind of two big things I wanted to talk about here in this show, and obviously one being very important to us, to Milwaukee sports fans, Wisconsin sports fans, and sports fans in general. Look, last Thursday the news came out regarding Bob Uecker passing away at 90. Look, this was a day we thought would never come, right? I mean, Mr. Baseball, it was a day we never wanted to come, I should say. Just for what he did for the Brewers for over 50 years, the legacy, whether he was announcing, a player, a mentor, well, not really the player part for the Brewer point, but the point being just his role to this franchise. I mean, there's a reason why you see Uecker up there in the raft. I mean, I say rafters, but really a number that's retired at American Family Field. There's a reason why there's a statue, right? I mean, think about the impact this guy's had to the Milwaukee Brewers team, to the game of baseball, and it's just it's indescribable. And I just think the amount of people who've mentioned, right? I mean, he the best. I think the headline that captures, I think Adam McCalvey and MLB.com, they've just done a phenomenal job breaking down, as well as MLB Network, and of course the local Milwaukee journalism. But the way they summed it up, right? The best friend you never met. I think that's just such a great way to describe the legacy left behind, and also just the impact. So I just think that's ultimately right. I mean, what you look at in his career and all, just the impact that he left behind. And the legacy, I think, is the other big thing too, right? Just tough because, right, this team, this franchise wanted to get him a World Series. I mean, he was just a part of this team where you win with him, you lose with him, and there was no announcer who had that kind of connection with the team. Sure, there's owners, sure there's, but an announcer, that's unheard of. And of course the impact he's had behind, beyond in terms of just sponsorships, right, with Miller Lite or Major League, right, is the career and just the impact he had on baseball, right? I mean, he drew people to the game of baseball, and I think from an announcing perspective, that's one of the hardest things to do, and right, true hero, and a true legend in not just Brewers history, but baseball history, sports history, and so on. Our thoughts are with the Brewers, and of course all Brewer fans. Just the celebration, the great mementos left by his statue, and so on. I was at the Bucks game last Friday. This is a perfect segue. At the Bucks game last Friday, take me out of the ball game at the game. It was the rendition he did in 2011 at Wrigley Field, and look, it was phenomenal. A great way, and they definitely did a lot of things there in Milwaukee for Bob, and good stuff to see. And but yeah, that Bucks game. I mean, to transition here to the Milwaukee Bucks basketball now. That game was phenomenal in terms of that tribute, but also the gameplay. The Bucks continue playing well. They had a nice homestand, and obviously would have been nice to continue it tonight. But of course, safety and so on is first. So they win 130-112, right, over Toronto. They were in control the whole game, as expected. They were right, like 13-point favorites. They beat Toronto handily this year. Toronto's a struggling team, and so on. Bucks took care of business. Giannis continues his hot streak, right? 30 points, 10 plus boards. Uh, it's wild. This could be the Giannis MVP year again. Obviously he's been MVP player the last few years, just hasn't gotten the award because someone else always gets it. But I think this might be the year. Bucks are continuously playing better. If they end up a 3 seed or better, right now they're 3 games out of the 3 seed from New York, the Knicks. Could easily see that. We saw them take care of business on Sunday. Sunday night was the game time. Obviously interrupted a phenomenal football game. So I didn't. Going back and forth was, it's tough to do during those. But right, Bucks take care of business. Giannis put up 34 and 15. And again, I'll say it with Giannis. This is the same Giannis we know and love. The free throws have been a struggle, but the big thing with Giannis has been this year. Obviously, you see the low fade. He's got a nice post fade game that's really developed over year in year out. But the big thing is just shot selection. A guy who's already incredibly efficient has gotten nearly more efficient. It's just remarkable with how he's performed this year. I mean, you look at his field goal percentage last 4 games, every game was above 60%. I mean, he has been extremely efficient, which has been really helpful to this Bucks, this offense in terms of just churning through and getting points consistently. I'm just pulling up, looking at Giannis' game logs. This would be the highest scoring year of his career if the season ended today at 31.5. Second highest was 31.1 in 2022 to 2023. So just he's eclipsed that. But then the big thing has been the three-pointers attempted per game. This blew my mind. And this is important to break down in terms of Giannis' progression, but also how even at this stage in his career, I'm acting like he's old, but he's just 30, 31. He had 4.7 three-pointers attempted in 2019 to 2020. He's gotten that down to 0.7 threes a game attempted. They've taken it out of his game. So that's 4 less three-pointers taken a game over the last 5 years. You may ask, what was it the year before? Is that 1.7? So he has obliterated, taking that out of his game. He's getting to the line just as much as he has over the last 6 years. But the big thing has been, his field goal percentage. Right, he was at 61.1 last year, but he is going to eclipse. He's at 60.5 right now. He's on track to eclipse 60% for his second straight season. His field goal percentage has flourished because of this, but also his field goals attempted. We're looking at 20.7 right now, which would also be high in his career. But obviously, there's some not so great parts. His free throw percentage is right out at the lowest point ever in his career, which is actually quite shocking. Lower than his rookie year. So I look at it in that perspective. But I'm bringing up this has been, scoring wise, this has been maybe the best we've seen Giannis at in his career. And of course, he has the dunking, top most dunks, most and ones, or whatever those stats. He's top end. But it's just been a pleasant surprise, and obviously, I'm not kidding that Giannis came out of nowhere, but really, in terms of scoring, we knew we'd get the scoring output, but it's been a pleasant surprise that out of all years, this year has been his career year in scoring, his 11th year in the league, which not complaining at all. It's been really nice to have, but also then with Dame, having him here with it being right, they're the top scoring duo in the NBA. Doesn't surprise you. Shouldn't surprise anyone. And Dame's had a nice stretch of games too at home and has played. I think the big thing for Dame, and I sometimes there's stretches of it, and that's where I find myself not saying every time, but I also feel there's a need to say it. Dame passing the ball, especially when Giannis is having these big score outputs. Dame has just been so effective as a playmaker. I'd say this past homestand. I think that was a big key to this team being efficient. And obviously, right, Middleton back, having Middleton play more than 20 minutes a night. There's been things like that have been helpful, but I think that's something I'll point to right away. Both of those sides, right? The big three, how are they playing? And then obviously having the complementary pieces. Ryan Rollins getting to start Friday night. How about it? Had a nice game. Those are things I look for. So I don't want to talk about the Bucs schedule coming up here, and then again the standings go through one more time. And again, it's going to be a shorter episode. I just wanted to get this out. Talk about Bob Uecker, and also right. I mean, legend. I mean, talk about podcasting, right? I mean, you look at journalists, you look at writers, you look at radio guys. I mean, nobody did it better. But want to mention that. But going through the schedule here coming up, so the Miami Heat, the drama-filled Miami Heat. Thursday, 6:30. So tomorrow night or whenever you're listening, 6:30 p.m., January 23rd. That game is on TNT. That's not in Miami. My bad. That is at home against. So the Bucs have to come. I wonder if they ended up being in New Orleans and how that situation worked out. But Bucs play tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. at Pfizer Forum. Then they got to go to LA. They're going to LA to the Intuit Dome. The debut for the Bucs there, where the Clippers play. I'm excited to see that arena. I hope they can get us more in-depth looks on FanDuel Sports Network, but that's going to be a cool sight to see. And then Monday, they go play in Utah. Historically been a tough place to play for them. And then at Portland Tuesday. So, you know how that is when Dame returns to Portland. They actually lost last time. I thought he returned there, but they have a 4-game road trip is what it is. Ends up being LA's been playing well, and then obviously those teams at home have been solid, but you definitely would like to think the Bucs hang in there, should win 3 of those 4. I talked about the last stretch of games of the Bucs to win, and obviously New Orleans being one of the worst teams would have been another favorable one, but the Bucs have won as I anticipated with the favorable stretch of schedule for them, and that's really benefited them in the standings. Now 24-17, halfway through the season. We're at the halfway point, 41 games to go now. They are 3 games back of the Knicks. Knicks have the tiebreaker as we are, 0-2 against them so far this year. So keep that in mind. But if you look at the rest of the year, right, you got to like the Bucs schedule and see how they can perform. But obviously the 4 seed looks like a spot they can have. They're only a game up on Indiana, though, so it's no lock whatsoever. But yeah, just looking at that. But Bucs gonna make the playoffs. Hopefully stay out of the play-in. But no, they look like at the 4 spot should be just fine. And how they've played, the last stretch of games, I'll tell you. I would definitely hope for the 3 spot here. They are only 5 games back of Boston, 6 including that tiebreaker that they do not hold. But just where they stack up against the whole NBA, like they are in the, I'd say 9 or 10 right now in my power rankings. It's where they were before. Looking at it here, I could maybe see because power rankings will come out in a couple of days, so it's tough to say how these next couple of days will go for the Bucs. But right now you see a path that you see them at number 7, even, which is wild to think about. Maybe number 8, but just looking at how they've performed against these other teams as of late, Clippers have been again playing nice, or playing well, so they'd be kind of neck and neck with them. That's where having Saturday's game would be very helpful to decide the power rankings for that. But just want to mention some Bucs basketball here. But otherwise, there's no further news regarding the Brewers or Packers. We're kind of just waiting. Ben Johnson was already calling out Matt LaFleur, though. That was already funny that the Bears are already starting to start things after they're winning that one game. You'd expect nothing more. But that otherwise, right, Packers got to wait until these moves take place. Season ends, free agency opens, then we can start seeing decisions made. And we're going to wait on that and see how that shakes up. But otherwise, that's going to wrap it here for myself, Drew Skyberg, at Drew Sports Crew on all social media platforms for all content, right? TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube. Thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.